our
just
board?
stand still. I don't know. It's great. Nobody's blocking the passes.
KVP.
We're going to call our board meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Mr. Robson, will you please call the roll?
Dr. DeMarco?
Here.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Here.
Mr. Funk? Here. Mrs. Walker?
Here.
And Mrs. Newman.
Here, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to our virtual audience. We have a packed house tonight with some really cool students from the high school, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lloyd at this point.
Okay. So, excuse me, and I'm gonna, where's Kelly? There she is. I'm gonna turn it over to Kelly, but one of the things that that I was happy that I stumbled onto was the business roundtable, which led to me watching a presentation by Vitamix and BW talking about Lean Six Sigma. And so I'm then had that that experience, passed it on to Kelly, and she has just really developed this program with Leo, and we are in the third iteration of this. This group, I guess, will count as probably upwards of 60 or so kids with yellow belts in Lean Six Sigma. So you've heard a little bit about the benefits-based accountability and kind of that launch. Kelly's going to talk a little bit about how these things kind of relate to one another. But I think this is an example of there's some things within that whole benefits-based accountability model that we are going to intentionally measure. And there are some that we are not going to specifically measure. However, those things that are associated with communication and problem solving and self-directedness and all those things are still being done. And this is an example of one of those things. So Kelly Kogan.
Now I'm on. Okay. Thank you very much for everyone attending tonight. So I just kind of wanted to give the board, the members of the board, just a little bit of a highlight recap of where we started with this program and where we are now. I was really hoping this is going to work. Yep.
I will advance your slides.
No, here we go. That's just because I didn't put the...
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Display mode.
Yeah, and I need to be... So we started, as Dr. Lloyd said, in 2021-22. I reached out to Baldwin Wallace as what Dr. Lloyd had said, and I said, hey, is there any way that we might be able to do this Lean Six Sigma idea with high school students? And so they reached out to Steve, who is actually on a Google Meet with us, the instructor. We'll talk to him in just a minute. And he said, I've never done this with students before. You would probably be one of the first schools in the country to do that, but I'm game if you are. Let's just see what we can do and see if it'll work. So in 2021, we had one cohort of 15 senior students. I put 16 there because it was supposed to be 15, but Mr. Spagnola couldn't count. And so he snuck another student into the cohort. So we had 16 students that first time, but we were told originally 15. And so we went through that first cohort of those 15 senior students in 21, 22, and it was so impressive just to see those students enter into something that caused them to think a little bit differently about something that can be used in workforce. And they have to do a presentation at the end of the learning in order to earn the yellow belt. And their presentations were amazing. These students got up, were able to use the tools and the terminology of Lean Six Sigma. They were able to apply it to a problem that they had in their life, whether that was something at their house, something with school, something with their job. It was extremely impressive. And we had a panel that first year. One of the site visits was Vitamix. And we had our panelists were people who were, they were either yellow or green belt certified, and they were impressed. And so it was so successful that we were like, let's do it again. So in 22-23, we said, what if we did 2 cohorts, one in the fall and one in the spring? And what if, since the seniors did such a nice job, I wonder if we might be able to do it for juniors. And our thought process with a fall cohort of seniors is they're starting kind of to do their college applications, they're doing some stuff, but they're already kind of in their fall of their senior year. When we start with the juniors in the spring of their junior year, and then they have that yellow belt, they're able to add that, write about it for their college application, if they're looking to go into any type of career. So in 22-23, we had 15 students for each of those cohorts. And then in 23-24, which is this school year, we'll have 2 cohorts again. But after we did the 22-23 school year, and I just noticed my typo there, Steve Wall, the instructor, was like, you know what, Kelly, I think we could increase it to 18 students. So why don't we see if we can get 18 students in each cohort? So again, over the 3 years, including this year, by the end of this year, we will have had 82 students who will have earned their yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma. It is 100% success rate. We don't tell the kids that before their presentations because they're very nervous, and we tell them you have to do the presentation in order to earn their yellow belt. But so far, we have 100% success rate with this program. This does cost money, but we currently have been using a federal grant that we receive, and it's not a lot of money, but it's enough to cover the program for the 2 cohorts, and it's like exactly enough. And Steve Wall, the instructor, who's a black belt instructor, has really worked with us on trying to keep that cost down for us so that we can use that grant to fund it. But the students in the group do 2 site visits for each cohort where they go and see Lean Six Sigma in action, either in the health industry. We've been to Vitamix, Key Bank. They've seen it in the financial industry. Our next cohort will be going to Medical Mutual. They've seen it in manufacturing. We went and did Lincoln Electric, and we went to Cleveland Clinic. So they've had some really great opportunities to not only learn about it, but then actually see it in action. So student feedback. So this is the first year that I said, you know, I need to send a survey out to both the students and the parents just to seek some of their feedback. And so some of the questions, this isn't everything, but really what motivated you to participate. What was interesting to me was that there were quite a few of them that said it was selective in nature. Like it was like, you got to know, you knew it was only going to be 18 students, and you were like, that's kind of cool that I'm going to be one of 18 and that you're invited to this. So they appreciated that. They recognized that it would be something that would look good in, you know, a resume or college transcript, a college essay that they have to write. And then, of course, the parents that told me I should participate, which probably comes from a lot of them, right? Because they really don't have maybe any knowledge of what Lean Six Sigma is, but many parents do. Any challenges or difficulty during the Lean Six Sigma? You know, the students who we choose, there are a variety of students. Some of them go to Polaris and are thinking about a career, you know, right out of high school. Some of our participants are, you know, college bound. But I will tell you that all of them they're pretty studious. They really want to do well, and so they struggle with missing school. You know, anytime that they have to not be in class and then have to make up that work. And many of them are in CCP classes where it's like if you miss a day, you miss a lot. So, you know, we've kind of talked about how we might work around that, you know, but it's hard because you have to miss something in order to participate in this. I liked a couple students said, you know, learning that in something this high stakes, you know, waiting until the last minute to do their presentation, to put their presentation together. The instructor, Steve Wall, all throughout kept saying, start it and email me with questions. I'm going to be here in a week. We can go over it if you have any questions. So those students who started early and who reached out to Mr. Wall on a regular basis felt more confident going into their presentation, probably than those students who maybe waited till the last minute and didn't have an opportunity to talk with Mr. Wall. And again, missing a day of instruction. So there's only 4 dates that the students get together, 3 dates before the presentation. There's a lot of work they have to do at home. There's a lot of things that they have to read through, work with their groups on. And so this was really the first time that we had some students who had to miss, and they were for good reasons. You know, they had things that they had to attend to, but that missing a day of instruction, they felt like that really kind of put them behind the 8 ball. So That was some feedback from them. How do you envision applying the principles of Lean Six Sigma in the future? They either spoke about a career that they're wanting to go into, talked a lot about whenever there's a problem or a process issue, like now I know how to fix it. It changed my mindset on problem solving and process improvement. It gave that whole idea of fixing something or changing a process. It gave it a framework and a way to think about it in a different way. And then do you have an example of how you have started to apply your Lean Six Sigma learning? One of the students said they have to sweep at work and they used to do it in a different way, and it was very time consuming. So they revamped the way that they sweep at work. Working with the cross country coach, one of the participants said, when she was sharing with the coach what her project was, the coach was like, that's awesome, because it focused on practice time and getting the most out of the practice. And so the coach said, let's try to implement this for next season. So again, just, some of the ways that the students are even able to take that learning right now and apply it. Dr. Lloyd talked about benefits-based accountability, and we've been talking a lot about this. And so when I think about the Lean Six Sigma experience for our high school students, I look at the pillars of student readiness, engaged, well-rounded students, and effective systems. And specifically within student readiness, that question of to what degree do we as a school district prepare our students beyond academics, right, for that next step in their life, whether that's career, college, do we give them some of those experiences that look different than just going to our core classes? And I think Lean Six Sigma is one of those ways that we can do that, and we have been doing that. Lifelong learning habits. To what degree do we promote and model continued growth and learning throughout life? Many of the places that we go and visit, we have conversations with their Lean Six Sigma team, and we always ask them, how did you get to where you are? What brought you into this? And so you hear that growth mindset, and you hear the always taking advantage of things that are given to you. We've talked to people at Vitamix who said, I started here on the line in the manufacturing. I didn't have a degree. But after doing this, I realized it was a company I wanted to work for. And then they paid for me to go and get my associates to get my degree. Now I have a master's, and I'm working on their Lean Six Sigma team. So just being able to hear from all of these people out in industry and in the workforce about how they got there, I think that's been really valuable for our students. And then engage well-rounded students. Do students do relevant, interesting, and meaningful work? And to what degree do we consistently design that type of engaging work? I will tell you that from the moment they step foot into the first class at Baldwin Wallace, they are engaged. It's new learning. Mr. Wall does a great job of connecting it and making it more understandable for them and helping them try to apply it to some of those tasks like sweeping a floor, but they can see it. And then also the effective systems, to what degree do our time and resource allocations reflect school and district, goals, objectives? We want to inspire and empower our students. And that is something that we believe wholeheartedly. And so when it comes down to, we have these grant funds, is there something else that those grant funds could go towards? Yes, there's never enough money. But the question is the allocation of those grant funds, does it meet that inspiring and empowering our students? And one of the questions on the survey was just that. And our students overwhelmingly said, yes, this was something that they felt was beneficial and that they were engaged in. So some future considerations for us as we look at the feedback and really realize how powerful this program is. If we could offer it to anybody who wanted to do it, we would do that. If there wasn't a cost associated with it. What I would love to do, and we've thrown out to some of our site visit places, like if you want to sponsor a cohort, we'd love to take your money so that we could get more cohorts to be involved. But we know that maybe half days instead of full days might be a little bit easier for the students and adjust those. So maybe it's some mornings and some afternoons so they're not always missing the same courses. This year, we always have we used to be, Mr. Spagnola and I would go to all of the sessions and classes. And so this year he stepped back just so he could be in the building more often. And we had Miss Coates, Dina Coates, who's one of our business teachers, attend. And she was like, this is awesome. I would love to somehow have this embedded into some of my business classes where students could earn a yellow belt. So I know her and Mr. Wall have been talking about what might that look like. The opportunity for more students through a business partnership, if someone came in and said, hey, we'd like to sponsor a couple cohorts, then we would have some more funds to have more students involved. And we've talked a lot about maybe not getting a yellow belt for every student, but even just providing something that would be optional for senior students to learn more about Lean Six Sigma and what it means and what it looks like in industry, and kind of a condensed maybe assembly opportunity, something that maybe they could do that learning, or even a self-paced, and then they work, on their own time with Mr. Wall or a black belt instructor. So, we're trying to always think about how we might, increase the number of students who get to participate in this. So, like I said, the instructor is Mr. Steve Wall. Miss Dina Coates was the teacher. Baldwin Wallace partnership has been great. Miss Chelsea Helbig has joined the Baldwin Wallace group, and the best part about it is she is Greenbelt certified. So she has really enjoyed and really been an asset as we're meeting with the students. And this cohort that is sitting here today, they visited Vitamix and then the Fastenal company out in Akron. So that was their 2 site visits. So I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to them. So before I call up Rachel, I'm gonna have Mr. Wall. So give me 1 second, Steve, because I'm gonna change the screen. I'm gonna have Mr. Wall just give a quick.
As Kelly's doing that, we're in the process of upgrading our technology in here eventually, not today, unfortunately. There would have been a camera right up there where Steve could see all of us and you could see Steve, but we're not there yet. So here we are.
So right, this is gonna look like our, I'll really try to put this together. Okay, Steve, you're up.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for the invitation. What I want to do really is start off and just congratulate the students that were selected and worked so hard to be certified as Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belts. And I have to just say, for me, it's one of the more fun things that I do. Baldwin Wallace has taught dozens and dozens of organizations Lean Six Sigma skills, but usually it's high-level business people trying to make their organization, more competitive, save time and money, maybe increase customer focus. And so being able to work with high school students who are able to adapt these business best practices and creatively figure out how to improve processes in their personal life is just really a lot of fun. And they do a great job as they go forward. I also really just have to congratulate Olmsted Falls for this innovative program. I know that Mrs. Kogan and Mr. Spagnola kind of go above and beyond to make sure this works well. And it really is a fun process. I feel good about it. We've gotten calls from we've gotten calls from parents saying that their children have gotten into something on an application that they probably wouldn't have before. I've had people come afterwards and say, my engineering class, I was ahead of schedule because I learned these sorts of things. So it really is fun to see that kind of creativity at work, but also the actual experience of using these business processes to improve some things as they go forward. One of the things to build on what Mrs. Kogan said was this group, the National Association of College Employees, did a survey to figure out what top qualities employers seek. Number 1, ability to make decisions and solve problems. 2, ability to plan, organize, and prioritize work. Number 3, ability to obtain process information. And 4, ability to analyze quantitative information. And when you think about that, this just describes exactly what Lean Six Sigma is. So we're pretty excited the way it went forward. It is a lot of fun for me, and love to figure out how we can continuously improve the way we present this to the students. You are in for a treat today. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how people used these business best practices. And I'm looking forward to seeing the presentation again. So thank you very much for the invitation. And hopefully look forward to, we got cohort 5 coming up this winter. So thank you much.
Thanks, Steve. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and invite Rachel up. And Rachel is going to do the presentation that she did to earn her yellow belt. She did ask if she didn't do it well now, does that mean she didn't earn it? I said, no, you already got it, so you're good.
I should take it away.
Oh, if I would take it away. I said no.
Yes. Clicker?
Yeah, she did. Let me just get to your presentation real quick.
Okay, so, sorry. Okay, so my name's Rachel, and my process is about, can you guys hear me? Okay, my process is about increasing the effectiveness and efficiency of cleaning the pool at my work. So a little bit of background, I've been working as a lifeguard for Metropolitan Pool Service for about 3 years. I work during the summers. It's an Olympic-sized pool, so there's a lot of walking around. My very first year, I realized that if the pool wasn't cleaned very well enough, there'd be a lot of resident complaints. But most of the time, guards either run out of time or they just weren't motivated enough to clean it thoroughly. So the purpose of this project is to be more effective and efficient at cleaning the pool. The process begins when I arrive to work and it ends with the residents swimming in a clean pool. This process happens every day over the summer when I come to work. It takes about an hour to clean because you're scheduled to come in an hour before the residents come. So my SMART goal is to create a process in the next 60 days that allows residents to enjoy their swim by ensuring the pool is cleaned within 1 hour after lifeguards arrive. So this was my SIPOC. So I'll start with the middle column because it's the most important. It's the process. Okay. Number 1 is when the pool gets dirty, and then I have to get the cleaning equipment out, and then I have to clean quickly and efficiently, and then I have to put the equipment away, and then the residents come and swim. The suppliers are the company I work for, Metro, and the pool I work at, Ridgefield. The inputs are the cleaning equipment, and the pool should get cleaned daily before residents arrive. The outputs are a cleaner pool, an efficient process, and hopefully no resident complaints. The customers are the residents, the lifeguards, and Metro. So this is my CTQ. So the ultimate goal is the better clean pool on the left. So that we want to be more efficient and have better quality. So to be more efficient, I want to get started quickly, which can be measured by starting within 5 minutes of arriving to work. And then I want to limit movement waste. And by doing that, I created a route around the pool, which I'll get to later. Quality, motivation, which is hard to sometimes get guards to feel motivated. So I was thinking maybe we could rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 on how motivated you feel. And then good equipment does the equipment actually do its necessary job? So for example, the little thing you put in the pool to test the chemicals, it's called a pH tester. If it comes back pink, then that means it works correctly. So this is my process map. It's kind of hard to read, and it's really big, so I'm just going to summarize it. So the first row, the first swim lane is about me. I get to work and I do my tasks, and there might be some hiccups along the way, like if the chemicals, there's not enough chlorine in the pool. But for the most part, I just have some decisions to make, like calling my supervisor or not. And then the second row represents the other lifeguards. So they arrive to work hopefully on time, and then they get their tasks done. Then the third row is my supervisor or Metro. They have to deal with customer complaints, and if there is any, and then they might have to come drive to the pool if there's issues with the chemicals. The last row is the residents. They have it pretty easy. They come to the pool, they swim around, and then they decide if they need to complain or not. So they either talk directly to us guards or they call the company. Some baseline data, it usually takes me about a full hour to clean the pool well enough, and about 2 lifeguards are needed to clean the entire pool. And we get between 3 to 5 complaints each week about the pool not being cleaned well enough, and most of the time the pool gets cleaned as well as it should, probably about twice a week, when it should be every day. So this was the waste I identified. the transportation, there might be traffic on the way to the pool, which sometimes can't be helped, but on the next slide, I'll get to how I can solve these wastes. Inventory, if there's bad equipment. Motion, there's a lot of walking around the pool because it's Olympic sized. Waiting for other guards to show up or do their duties. And then the defects, if you check the chemicals wrong, so you have to do it over. My 5 whys. Why is the pool not always ready on time when the residents arrive? Because it's not always clean on time. Why is the pool not always clean on time? Because the lifeguards run out of time to clean before the residents come. Why do lifeguards run out of time? There's a lot of movement waste walking around the pool. Why is there a lot of walking around the pool? The pool is very big and guards often go back and forth. Why do guards go back and forth? They have to do multiple jobs around different areas of the pool. So this is my fishbone diagram. There's 5 main, this just looks further into the waste and shows it in a different way of the multiple reasons that could be causing the waste that I didn't even think about before. So these are my ideas on how to improve that waste. For the traffic on the way to work, I said I could arrive 10 minutes earlier. The bad equipment, I could create a sign-off sheet that the equipment works when it was last used so that we know if it works or not. Lots of walking around the pool. I can map out what I need to do and try to minimize going back and forth so much. Waiting for other guards to show up, get my tasks done while I'm waiting, and then if I'm finished, I can help them do their stuff too. Checking the chemicals wrong, just go slow and don't rush it. These are my aha moments. Like I said before, I didn't realize all the factors that could be potentially causing the waste. For example, when I walk into work, 90% of the time the front desk receptionist stops me and I have to have a conversation with her, which I love having. So that's why I was like, if I leave 10 minutes earlier, I'm able to have that conversation and I can get my stuff done. So also the pool takes 1 hour to clean and I would run out of time. And I didn't realize how long it takes to clean. Okay, what's next? So I want to try leaving a few minutes earlier and creating a route around the pool to minimize going back and forth. And potentially approval for new equipment like the chemicals tester, because the chemicals tester at our pool is not the greatest. So this is my spaghetti diagram. So as you can see, there's a lot of walking around. I go around the big pool multiple times because I have to go get all the equipment and I have to walk around and check the drains, and then I have to walk back around to the baby pool to check the chemicals. So I was thinking that I could definitely minimize walking around so much. So I made a after diagram, maybe. So this is where I check the drains along the way, check the chemicals at the baby pool, and then I can come back, and it's just a lot less walking around. So it, my movement waste reduced significantly, and next summer I expect the time to clean the pool to reduce to 3/4 as much, so around 45 minutes. And then I just thank you to Mr. Wall, Mrs. Kogan, Mrs. Coates, Danielle Cameron, Fastenal, Vitamix, and BW.
So after they're done with their presentation, like what Rachel just did, then there's a panel of 5 or 6 people that then give them feedback on their project. They ask them some clarifying questions. And, you know, not only is it just about the Lean Six Sigma for a lot of them, this is like the first time they've really had to stand up and present something. And so we're not only just teaching them that, we're also saying, like, try not to read from your slides. You did an awesome job. Like, make notes, make eye contact with the panelists, you know, speak slowly and clearly, know your stuff. And so they really did an excellent job. And actually, Dr. Lloyd happened to be one of our panelists this year. So he was able to see some of the students as well. So if you want to.
No, I've had the opportunity to do that a few times. And so this group, I think, has been the most impressive as far as their application of the tools. I got my green belt in Lean Six Sigma probably like about 14 years ago or so. So I had to brush up on some of my terminology in order to offer feedback, but I've always been impressed with all of the presentation. Great job.
So it is my pleasure. And just there were, like we said, 18 students. There is a lot going on with athletics, band, choir concert tonight. So there are a few students who missed. They will be invited to come to the January board meeting where we will have another opportunity to actually formally present them with their certificates and yellow belts. So I'm going to read the names for everyone tonight, but we will contact them and let them know that if they can make the January board meeting, we would like to have them come again. But for our students who are sitting here, so let's do this.
What do you need from me?
Actually, don't need anything. I'm good. Okay, so Rachel. Come on up. And then Miss. Oh, hold on, I'm over there.
So we'll take
Yes.
do that, and we'll take a group picture over here after everybody's done.
Thank you. Brian, I know he's not. Brian Landon is not here. I don't. Delaney. Andrew Conley. Maya Smith. Luke Ventimiglia. I don't think Wisnet is here. Andrew Wisnet, he can have them too. Mr. Karkowski, Luke Karkowski, he can help me. Jack Phillips. Jack had a last minute cancellation of volleyball, so glad you're here. Montana good enough? Yes. Sisters in class. I thought maybe they were gonna do their Lean Six Sigma project on each other. How does she mess the house up more than I do? So Samantha. Leah Kerber. Maggie Clown. Tegan Lynn. Aiden Luce. And Logan May.
Kelly, why don't you come over here and stand?
Yep.
Maybe you should put Jack in the middle. Put Jack in the middle. I think they wore it this time, yeah.
Yeah, hold your certificates. Yeah, hold your certificates. One step to the left for me. One step towards Jack.
I'm going to tell you, Randy had to enroll in his college application.
All right.
Was my
Don't get hurt.
to their business.
Oh, man. That's great.
He's like,
Yeah.
Parents, you can go over there and get a picture if you want. Yeah, parents, you can go take a picture.
yeah, we let you out in your seats.
You guys, wait, your parents want a
Your
picture.
parents need a picture.
Go back.
Your seniors, get used to it.
Just get it over. Please don't. Zoom in on it. But no one's looking at first. I'll be right on.
All right, I did entice them to stay for some cheesecake, so they're gonna stay for a little bit.
Yeah, they should. We have fun.
Thank you guys so much.
Good job, guys.
I joke that it's, I love my group of students, because at least when I walk through the high school now, every once in a while, someone's like, hi, Miss Cogan, and I'm like,
So, question though.
They know me.
So, Jack and Sam and Montana, I know that they're on, who did the cross-country presentation? Sam? Okay, I figured.
I did it just for the girls, so
Oh, you only wanted to, yeah.
we're gonna implement it for track.
Oh, for track as well? Awesome.
We'll try.
It's cool.
All right, Steve, thank you so much.
Kelly, great job.
Thanks. And then
Anytime you want to chat about how we can get better, just let me know.
I will. Thanks, Steve.
Take care.
All right, bye.
All right, we're gonna move along. We're gonna take a couple minutes. We're gonna go into a recess shortly, but before we do, we're gonna take a couple minutes to honor our board member, Dr. DeMarco, who is retired from the board after 4 years of service. And she said, please don't do anything big. So I said I wouldn't even stand up or anything. But, you know.
We brought police in before that started. That was all for you.
It absolutely would not be right to not recognize Dr. DeMarco for all that she has done for the board. She's been a genuine asset to our board, and we've been so grateful that she served here. Her passionate focus for students and their voice guided her board service as she worked to sustain our AAA district. It was evident through words and actions that every thought that Jody contemplated was centered around students and the impact on them. Jody's hard work could not only be seen as a school board member, but in the classroom and beyond. Because of Jody's daytime profession as a faculty member of Cleveland State University in health science, she volunteered in our classrooms from primary grades to the high school, often bringing brains and other body organs to enhance our students' educational learning, and in the process gross everybody out, but it wasn't gross to her. She worked tirelessly out of the classroom as well. Jody created an adaptive lacrosse program throughout Northeast Ohio where non-typical students learn to play and participate in the game of lacrosse. The program has grown so much, and it includes a collaboration with Cleveland State University now. In addition, Jody is a regular volunteer at Jacob's Ladder, a special needs fitness organization, where she recently took on a board position. Jody also served as our representative on the Polaris board. Upon joining the Polaris board, she immediately made a positive impact, collaborating with their leadership and ours to maximize our students' experience and benefit. Always engaged with the work at Polaris, Jody was and remains a strong advocate for vocational education. We are proud to accept Jody into the ranks of alumni member of the Board of Education. Her dedicated service on behalf of the students everywhere is a well-deserved accomplishment for sure. We wish you so much success, Jody. Thank you for everything. I'm going to take out your gifts, but come up. The first gift we have is a nice plaque that is a board resolution that speaks to Jody's service and work on the Board of Education that you should feel very proud for. So we have that. And then also in honor of your dedicated service, the board made a donation to Jacob's Ladder.
Thank you.
In your honor. So thank you for everything.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. So I will accept a motion from the board to take a 15-minute recess. We have cheesecake and drink. So fun stuff.
So moved. Second.
Great. You can call the roll, Mr. Robson. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're going to go into administrative reports. PTA Maggie Filippo let me know she wasn't going to be here tonight. She said PTA is chugging along as usual, and she didn't have anything new to report, and she was going to be at the band concert. So I said thank you and happy holidays. So Dr. DeMarco.
I do not have a report because I've officially handed it off.
She told me I am making the report
I
tonight.
gave her all the notes. I said, here you
For
go.
everyone's edification, our board member Kelly Walker will be our Polaris rep going forward. for next year, and so.
So yes, Jody and Bob, they invited me to attend this week's meeting, which included the holiday dinner beforehand.
Oh, look at that.
So I had a really amazing dinner, and I'm like, wow, does this happen every meeting? And then they sent me home with cookies. They were just bribing me in the beginning, right, until I get started. But a couple things. His update, he talked about the current applications. They've actually had some pretty strong applications. I think they have 600 already in for next year. 12 of the 17, which would have 12 of the 17 programs already full. Of that, for the associate schools, Berea, Mid-Park, and Brooklyn are over 50% of their income, like that class's population. Fairview Park, North Olmsted, and Olmsted Falls are in the 31 to 34%. And then Strongsville's at 25%, which is apparently the highest they've ever been. So they're pretty excited. He talked about their new LPN program, which is their adult education. Apparently, like, the phone is ringing off the hook on that. They'll expect to have 50 that will start, which will make it far and away their largest adult education program that they have. And that will include, obviously, kids coming from Polaris as a direct feed to it, as well as there will be like employees of Southwest, because this is being, a lot of the funding for this is coming from Southwest. And they will be remodeling the third floor for capacity. They're going out to bids on that now. He also talked about that they have recently met with superintendents and high school principals of their associate schools.
They did not. Darren Weimer met with us.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
To get feedback or to ask. And the main thing that he talked about was one of the consistent things that they heard from all the schools was finding something for students who are not currently on a college path or currently enrolled in Polaris. What can we do for those? That seemed to be a consistent thing they heard from all the schools. And I know that they've had a career fair before. I suspect we'll be hearing, they might have some more things like that. We might hear more about that going forward. Couple of other things Jody had mentioned that she wanted to make sure that we talked about. And I think Jim already knew this. There was a former Polaris student who was also an alumni, who was also from Olmsted Falls in the EMT. He was out and about in the community, and he saw a person struggling and saved their life. CPR, because CPR saves lives. Parma was actually giving him a commendation for that, the city of Parma. So that is, that was pretty cool to see that happen. The other thing, and I forwarded it to board members today, WKYC did an article, or did a segment on the special needs group at Polaris, and where they're at 70% employment, that they had those kids, they actually moved them into employment. And I wanted to share it because a lot of the kids that were in that program are Olmsted Falls students that you'll probably recognize if you see it in the segment. So, that was a nice little positive thing that I thought they ended on.
So as it relates to so what they did is they hired Darren Weimer, who's the former Berea superintendent, and they had him go and talk to all the high school principals that are part of the consortium and the superintendents, and ask them all different kinds of questions. Some were related to students, some were related to really just the kind of communication that comes out from Polaris to us. Have they said anything about how and if that's going to be put into some sort of report, and how transparent that report is going to be?
That would be a question I can ask. The only thing
Jim would like to know.
Yeah, the only thing they talked about in there was he made the point of mentioning that the consistent feedback on that was really the only thing. Okay. I think he might have mentioned that more information was to follow. I don't know. Okay. I can ask.
I thought he indicated he would be able to break it down by district to us.
Yes. Individually by a district.
Yeah. Polaris does an outstanding job for our kids. I mean, it's incredible. The problem I've had, and the problem that my colleagues have had, because all 5 of us have talked, is the communication that comes from Polaris to the superintendents comes from the board member who's representing Polaris, and that's not a model that really ought to be, that model should be different. And so that's some of the feedback that was given. And so one of the things that Mr. Timmons is going to do is he is going to have a meeting, I know, with the superintendents to review.
He did mention that he's trying to get, which is a challenge to get everybody in the room together at the same time, but that he did mention.
We'll be there.
He mentioned they were working on that.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I can certainly make a request on further about receiving that more detailed information.
I guess I'm interested to know what kind of report maybe that the board member consortium will receive along with those of us and the superintendent, but more wondering whether or not it's going to be full transparency to you and the other members of the board.
Okay.
Of the kind of feedback from the superintendents and the principals. That's my wonder.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions for
It's cryptic, sorry, but
Mrs. Walker?
semi-cryptic.
Thank you, Kelly.
And yes, I did come home with cookies that my son and my husband ate, and they're like, so does this happen every meeting? And I'm like, apparently so.
Yeah, they'll give you food. It's great.
Well, good luck and thank you. Mr. Zeller, you're on.
Sure. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Oregon University. That's where I graduated from. Twice a year I go, I help give feedback to their aspiring educators with mock interviews. What was fun about this one is they are now graduating intervention specialists, which are obviously needed all around. So I was actually able to source a candidate for our ECC position.
Outstanding.
Which is kind of hopeful that she was an excellent conversation. I think she'd be an excellent candidate for us. She would have to move, but I know Jen's reached out to her, I've emailed her, so we're kind of hopeful that she'll take the step and apply. So it's kind of nice to just see that connection start to bear some fruit a little bit. Next semester when I go back there, this will be one of the larger classes they have. They have about 25 to 30 graduates coming, so it'll be nice to get back there and see what they're producing. So I only mention all of this because I was the first graduating class from Lord's, so it was a very small college, 1,400 people, probably more nuns than students. So
Where is it located?
it's in Sylvania.
Okay.
So I literally, my husband and I were the first two high school certified graduates from the program. So to see where it's grown has been kind of. I know I've talked a lot about Time Clock Plus over the past year, but in the past 2 weeks I've been able to sit with each of our building principals to teach them how to approve time segments in Time Clock Plus. And I just got to tell you, it's been a heavy lift for the past year trying to get that up. You're trying to figure out every position in the district, every extra hour every person does. Tip of the cap, payroll, and Holly McFadden and Kelly Mendeley, they have done an incredible job of trying to figure out all of the little nuance across the district. So it's pretty awesome.
Is it getting any easier as you go forward? Is there like an end point where you say like, all this stuff is inputted, like we're good to go now? Or is it always going to be little tweaks here and there, or nuances?
So I think we're always going to have little tweaks just because we have teachers who are creative and they develop programs and compensate for those programs. So we'll have little tweaks always, but we have the bulk of it done. And we are finally at a point where once we hit the new year, we're really going to be getting into Time Clock Plus being the driver of how we start to run our extra hour payroll, as opposed to paper time sheets and hand calculations. And like I said, I go back to Holly and Kelly. Without their work, I don't think we'd be where we are.
So we've got on that topic, the system exports and then that upload into the payroll system is successful now too. And what was our go live date? The second pay in January. January 15th pay. So yeah, they've done a great job.
And then since you mentioned CPR at our last Professional Development Day. We organized CPR for our secretaries of tech department. So our goal, I'm working with Heath on this, and he's done a great job of organizing, getting a hold of Southwest and Township to get trainers in. But our goal is by the end of the year to have every classified person in the district CPR certified. So that staff, they're always, that side of the operation, they're always looking for development that's going to make them better. And when we started to look at it, we said, CPR is a skill that goes beyond just your work. So it's something that they can carry with them. And we think it's important. So
I know from personal experience it saves lives.
Yeah.
So.
And more importantly, it's a major kudos that we can pull that off and it's been free. So to train all of our classified staff in CPR and free has been pretty amazing. So we appreciate Southwest and Township for their help.
Any questions for Mr. Dec? Thanks so much, Brian. Kelly? I mean, Scully, you have
Real quick, you will be getting you have the draft program of study. I sent that email today, just in regards to some of the new courses. So you have time to look through that. It is on tonight for the first read, and then in January. So what normally happens, I think February is when the scheduling starts. So we're having a meeting early in January, so it won't need to go out in draft form. It will be board approved. But if you have any questions between now and then, there's some unique classes that are new. And so if there's any questions you have about any of that, just let me know.
I do have one quick question. I was able to glance over it. Like, what happens on the new classes if, we don't have students that want to take them?
Yeah, so,
how confident are we?
we're pretty confident in all of those. I mean, we switched out, we had a lot of kids that were registered for some of our CCP ELA courses, but, poetry isn't, it's just not a lot of kids want to take it.
In the fiction course.
And a fiction. So we kind of reached out to LCCC and said, hey, listen, what are some of the more kind of engaging courses that students might want to take? So I have a feeling we'll be okay there. As far as the urban agriculture, that is Jess Jones, and she is a really good teacher, and I think she'll probably recruit. I mean, sometimes it really is about the teacher saying, like, hey, I'm teaching this coming up next semester. It's in the program of study. Ask me some questions about it. So I have a feeling that that'll get communicated to a lot of our science students.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Tracy Blake. I mean,
Kids vote with their feet.
yeah, they vote with their feet, and they vote with but to your point, Holly, if we had a class out there and there weren't enough students, we don't run those courses.
Sure.
So then we would just reach out to those few students who selected and say, hey, we didn't have enough interest. You're going to need to choose a different course, and then we just wouldn't run it. But I think right now those classes will be, I think kids will want to take those.
Any other questions about that? All right, thank you. Mr. Robson?
So we're, last month we approved the updated 5-year forecast. So we're in the process of updating the reporting software that reflects the most current forecast that was submitted. So I don't have that pretty report for you, but I'll just summarize some things for you. Fiscal year to date has our anticipated annual revenue on target at $50.8 million, with expenses running slightly above plan at $49.1 million. Is what we had anticipated, so a difference of $72,000 on the expense side. And currently our projected year-end cash balance is $10.9 million. Last year, when we filed the report on fiscal year 23 and we projected fiscal year 24, we thought our ending cash balance for this year would be $10.8 million. So we're right on track, with where we thought we were even going to be last year, which I'm really happy about the consistency of those projections. We ended November 2023 with a general fund cash balance of $11.5 million. For that same period last year, our cash balance was $10.6 million. So again, I'm pleased with the overall performance to date. On the bus fleet, I was talking with Heath the other day. We received word that 2 of the 6 buses that we have out there on order have been built and they're currently being shipped and are probably at Cardinal for final prep work. So it goes from build to the dealer. The dealer does the lettering, the numbering, and they check to make sure that all the options that we had were in place. So we still have 4 more buses to come. 2 of those remaining 4 then are in build, and we expect them to follow shortly to Cardinal. The sad part is on the other 2 then that are remaining, we know that they've been pushed back a little bit from what they had told us before, and they'll be here, we think, at the start of next school year. We thought they'd be here about May, June, but now they'll be here probably August, September. So we'll keep you updated on the remaining buses that are out there, but a little optimistic or feel a little bit better that, at least they're in build now and a couple of them are on their way and hopefully they'll be caught up. We're going to continue working with Heath and Sean and keep ordering buses every year, because we know that, there's just a bottleneck in the process, so we don't want to wait to get our orders in. Gap conversion, Medicaid agreed upon procedures, and the annual state audit are all either completed, near completed, or a work in process. So we've completed the Medicaid agreed upon procedures, and that report was submitted today. And I think with that, we'll get a reimbursement in addition to what we already received throughout the year of about $75,000, which is nice. I think last year we got about $83,000. The gap conversion, we should have tomorrow everything to Julian and Group to allow them to complete that. And I think I talked to Mrs. Newman a week or so, probably 2 weeks ago. We actually filed an extension on the report for this year. We had switched, or we're in the process of switching our equipment inventory system over from one platform to another. So that caused a little bit of a delay in us getting reports that we felt comfortable with using for the gap conversion. And then there was also there was a new item in GAP this year. It's a GASB compliance item that's taken us a little bit of time to pull the documents they need. But they'll have everything Friday. We'll have everything submitted before Christmas, so we're good there. And then the state audit. So by delaying the GAP report, that kind of delays, the work that the state auditors can do too, because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at your financial statements. What controls do you have in place to ensure the accuracy of those statements are accurate? So
I have a question about the audit real quick. There was a time that we didn't have to use the state auditors and we could have a private, I think it was Julian and Group.
Yeah, Julian Group's a big one on even audits.
I can't remember, but then you have to go back to the state at some point. And it feels like we've been with them ever since. Is that...
So the state, I think this might be year 4 that the state has been back in since the last time Homestead was outsourced. So what they do is they put you on a rotation. And typically it's every 5 years.
Oh,
so in 5 years, they'll
I thought
bid
it was
us out.
shorter than that, and I of course I'm wrong, yeah.
Now, or they can just say, no, we're going to keep you guys in-house and find somebody else out this time around too. So they dictate that, not us. And even that selection process is controlled by the state auditor's office. We work with them on that, and we give them our feedback on the final 3 firms that were interested in doing that, but they've got that ultimate decision.
I see. I did.
And it is usually a 5-year, so 5 years out, 5 years back, 5 years out.
And do you have a preference or
No, they all, they all review the same things and have that same approach and how they do it. What gets difficult for the client, though, is the first year with a new firm, you're starting over. Mm-hmm. And they're not familiar with your district, your reports, and it just takes more time that first year to reestablish or update their records to get going. Then years 2 through 5 are about the same as others. I really like the team from the state that's out here. They do a good job. They're good people to work with. I think the lead is actually a resident.
She's a resident, and I'm wondering if they get a choice, and she may be like, look,
She may.
I don't have to drive off somewhere. It's in my backyard. I'm going to choose to do it. I moved here, you know,
I know
and she does a good job. So
The prior district I had, we were with the state. I think in the 17 years I was there, we were only outsourced one time because they liked our district, and we were a small, clean district, and it was an easy audit for them to do.
Probably easy for them.
So that's usually how that works.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit in the past about the Chamber of Commerce, so I started attending those. Good group of people. Had their election of officers in November. Last night they had their annual Christmas gathering. I came in at just the right time. We met above the Butcher and Brew, which was a nice place. So the event included a fundraiser for the Polaris Career Center Counselor Scholarship Fund for the benefit of Olmsted Falls students, which was nice. And the chamber, during that fundraising process, they said, we're going to match this dollar for dollar up to $500. So $584 was collected. They threw in another $500. So that was a good night for them. Calendar year end is looming, and we're prepping ourselves for that, and we'll be in good shape for the end of the year with W-2s, 1099s, all that good stuff. And then the final note, our financial publication. Where's Kim Petrina? She's, she is the master. Is that the right term to use? But that ended up being a much bigger undertaking than I would have thought going into it. So it was, it went difficult. It was just time consuming. But anyway, the report is with Allerton in design. So here soon, in the next few days, we expect the draft version of that publication. We'll sit down and run through it one last time, and then we'll shoot it out, I think, real quickly to the Finance Committee, because they provided so much input and information, things that they would like to see, and we just want to make sure that we've captured that and are presenting that as well as we could with their wishes. So making good progress. So we'll start on next year's when we get back from the holidays.
Right on.
But I can't thank Kim and Allerton enough for the work that they put into that.
Any questions for Mr. Robson? Thank you. Dr. Lloyd.
I have some quick hitters. Some are fun, some are not so fun. Brett had mentioned the chamber and kind of our reestablishment, I guess, with them in some ways. Leo Spagnola and I, along with both teachers from our business department, Dina and Liz, met with Caprina Gates and Donna Winter, who reached out to us because they wanted to have a stronger connection with chamber and the high school. We've built a business program for the past, I don't know, what is it? Is it 8 years now or something like that? And that continues to grow. And there really hasn't been much of a relationship between the chamber and the business department. And so they wanted to come in and talk about what that might look like. And really all I did was pull people together and just sit back and really listen and listen to the conversation that Dina and Liz had with them. And so I think the scholarship stuff is nice, but really what we want is some of that expertise along with internships and externships and those other things. So we're looking to develop a stronger partnership with them. So I think that's a good thing. I don't know if you have any questions about the Russian terrorist threat that I received while I was sitting in the club section at the Browns game on Sunday, but I will say that while you look at it and when it comes in and you're like, really? Any threat like that you receive, you have to act on it, right? I mean, any threat like that. I will, have to pay homage to just the leadership that both Leo Spagnola and Mark Kurz had, because I'm trapped downtown and I can't get back here. And we're in communication with the chiefs of police, with Kim, and thank you to her for just acting quickly and pulling together a letter. My superintendents around in the region who also got it, we all tried to act as quickly as we could and then go and sweep buildings, and not because you necessarily think that it's credible, but because you need to make certain that it's not. And just really irritated with the cost associated with that. I mean, it's something that we won't know how it costs. We don't pay our principals and any of us overtime for working on a Sunday evening or anything, but everybody really stepped up and took care of business. And so I was very thankful for my team for doing that. So, I don't know if you have any questions about any of that, but what I didn't do is give you kind of like the blow by blow of how it was happening. What happens is when that comes in, my thought process to you is to make you aware that this is an issue. This is something that we're working on, and I just activate our team, and then we put our process in place, and they did a really, really good job with that. So that's that. The facility study meeting is the 19th, right, Kim? We're going to move forward with that. There's some people that are not able to meet with that sort of like small group that we have, but the majority of people are able to be there. Phase 1 was really overviewing the district facilities and kind of the assessment that AVG did. Phase 2 is where we kind of are now, which is talking to that group about what do 21st century learning environments look like. And so AVG is going to share really some things with them of other buildings that they've done, along with just kind of like some thoughts about how it could look. The second part of phase 2 will be site visits to different places, or virtual visits to take a look at what does an elementary learning space look like that really is an up-to-date learning environment. So that's there. I think we're in a good place and we're on track with that. So I don't know if you have any questions there. Anything? Okay. I was talking with Megan from the Cuyahoga County zoning group today. I think I sent you an email on that just to give you an update. I don't know if you had any questions about that. The Gross Builders has reduced it from 202 homes down to 50 homes. They have to go back in front of the township, and I'm sure that they're looking forward to that meeting, quite honestly. But they were going to try to use that emergency access road as their second way out. So, obviously after talking with our crew, we didn't think that we needed that anyway. So, which is the reason why we pulled out of that and said we don't need that. And so I don't know if they're going to get their 50 homes approved by the county even. So, I've been continuing to be in contact with them just to make certain that we all are on the same page with that. I wouldn't live there, but it's not my money, so it doesn't matter really.
Yeah, and you think about where they thought they'd already have shovels in the ground.
Yeah, they did. And so what's funny is this, Megan from the county is like, so I was out at your stadium for a soccer tournament or something. She doesn't live in the community, and she's like, so I was doing a recon on the lot that's over there. She's like, I don't understand why somebody would want to put a townhome right behind your press box, essentially, where your speakers are. But, and I said, I didn't know that either, but, to each their own, I suppose. We had a good key communicators meeting the other night. It's always tough whenever we try to pull people together around at this time in December. Thanks to Kim and Julianne Allen. Julianne really is the one now that facilitates that meeting, and then I'm kind of along for the ride, so to speak. We had visitors from the Woodridge Board of Education. Scott Carlo came again, and then also a member from the Fairview Park Board of Education, Doran Jackson, came, who was a former student of mine in graduate school. When I was his professor, he was the student. So he came, and one of the reasons why was really just I think we kind of have an exemplar group that most communities don't have, who get together on a regular basis, and we have a really kind of free-flowing conversation about things. And so I think that's really healthy, and there are other school districts that are going to try to use that as the model for how to really do community engagement. So I think it's kind of a cool thing. The last thing I have, and this is something just because there's board changes and it's a new year and everything, just to revisit my communication style with you. I try to send you the bi-weekly report that the admins write, which I think is a good insight into how things look and what they are, and you're getting it right from the source from them. I tend to do more of a, hey, no surprises, here's a text of the situation that's going on, or to put things in an email versus saving them all up to kind of like the end and then writing a report for you. So I'm going to defer to you and also to you, Bob, too, to eventually weigh in on this as we go into January of 2024 and beyond. Do you want like a more formal kind of, you don't have to answer this right now, but do you want that sort of like more formal kind of thing? Or do you want, as things come in, I'm going to let you know sort of right away, and I've done it via email versus kind of making a Word document or something and sending it out. So I can do whatever it is that the board feels most comfortable with. I mean, the whole thing is, my number one thing is just like I have with our administrators, no surprises. Sometimes things slip by. What happened today when we were walking in the meeting was a surprise to all of us as far as EMS out there and everything, but to not have any surprises for you. So you let me know how you want to go about doing that, and I'll certainly do whatever it is that you feel is the best thing to do. But that's all I have. I could answer anything else. Any questions if you have any. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone want to address the board tonight? We'd like to recognize a generous donation from the middle school PTA toward the Washington, D.C. Scholarship. And again, PTA is just an amazing asset to our school district. And we appreciate them so much. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. I'll accept a motion from the board for the approval of consent agenda items in category 7 through 10.
So moved.
Is there any discussion from the board on consent agenda items 7 through 10? Mr. Robson, when you're ready, you can call the roll.
Dr. DeMarco? Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes.
Mr. Funk?
So I have a question. Sorry. Bulldog Youth Football is on there, and I am affiliated with that. Should I abstain? It's just a generalized agreement of their usage.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a conflict. There's no resources exchange or anything like that. Yeah, it's a good question though.
Yeah.
And I'd seen it before, and I forgot about it, and I'm like, oh crap, so sorry, unless you guys get your vote. Yes,
I think you're solid.
Yeah. Okay, then yes. Sorry.
I think there's two left.
Yes.
Newman.
Yeah, motion carried. Yeah, in the future, we can always like.
Pull it out.
And that's what I thought you might have to do, and I'm like, that's fine, I just needed to know.
Do it separate, so then you can vote on, anyone that can vote on the rest of the agenda, but just that particular one, but I think you're good. We will have executive session tonight, and the board will not be taking any action after executive session, so just to let the audience know that. Okay, so we need to appoint a board member who is going to act as the president of the organizational meeting, to run that portion of the meeting until we elect a president at that meeting. So it can be anybody, it could be me, it could be anyone. Does anyone have a comment on that?
I nominate Mrs. Newman.
And that's fine. I could do that. I could like start. I could do that. Yes. Okay. Do we have to vote on that, or do we just appoint? Okay. Great. Sure. I'm happy to do that. Okay. Meeting times for next year. Are we good with all those? If we are, we're moving forward.
Oh, sorry, I am not in town on February 1st, which is a work session, which we may not need anyway.
Right, exactly.
And it may not be a big deal if I'm not here, but
Yes.
we'll be in Florida.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. Okay. So, yes, so we're moving forward with all those dates. course, we realize that, like, it's hard to plan out July and August. People might be on vacation.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to amend it at some point. For me, I always, just kind of make sure, like, January through June, do we have it locked and loaded, and it feels like we do. So, good, we're good to go. We can publish that, or do whatever we need to do. Tax, item C, tax budget hearing, for, fiscal year 25. Can you speak to that, Mr. Robson?
Yeah, so every year we have to send our tax budget to Cuyahoga County. That has to be filed no later than January 20th. So it fits, we normally do it with, in that same meeting with our organizational meeting, just so that we're well within those guidelines. So what that does is, we're reporting to the county, here's what our anticipated expenditures are by fund, and it just, validates or helps them certify that, their need to continue to assess and collect the effective rates that are out there. So we do that annually.
And so that'll happen at the January.
That'll be at the January. We'll do that right at the start of the regular meeting.
So again, on January 11th, we'll start with our organizational meeting where we'll swear in new board members, vote on a president and a vice president, and adjourn, and then reopen in a regular meeting. So it's a lot of procedural things at the start, but then it gets normal after that.
Will that be at 6 o'clock?
Yes, and so yes, thank you. So we are moving our meeting time to 6 o'clock next year. This is big, this is huge. So we need to put that in bold everywhere we go from now until it happens.
Yeah,
Especially-
I think we do, honestly.
We do. I mean, the board has not met at 7 o'clock for like over 50 years. This is gonna be a big change. I know you think it's crazy, Judge, but it really is. We're so conditioned. So yeah, it might need to go in the blog, Kim. Yeah, this is a big thing. This is big. Okay. So I don't know, are we going to have a January work session? Do we need a January work session? We don't have one scheduled right now. We're meeting on January 11th. Is there anything critical that we need to discuss?
Still gonna be in winter break then too.
Yeah, we don't get back until what, the 8th? Right, well, it would have to be after our January 11th meeting. But if we don't need one, we don't have to have one.
I say we don't need.
I say we don't need one.
Okay, so at the moment, we don't need one. Okay. So just one meeting in January. And then our next meeting would be like February 1st. If we had a work session. Okay, is there any other general board discussion at this time?
I just wanted to share something.
Sure.
Because sometimes we don't hear positive things, and I thought, so this week was the final ceremony for the football season, which is sad, and I'm trying not to think about that. It's all over. But as part of the program, the coaches get up and they talk about all the seniors. And it's amazing to me that they can find really thoughtful things to talk about every member of that team, regardless of how much they played or participated. And it was very thoughtful, and which Chuck and I were quite amazed, because maybe the years that I've gone, we haven't paid that much attention, but we were really thought it was amazing. But one of the students, and I know the student when he came to the district, Coach Luca talked about him, and basically started with, this kid was a pain in the neck. and, struggled and got himself into was worried that he might be academically ineligible and this whole thing. And he, along with, probably Leo and other members, had an intervention and worked with him. And he's now a senior. He's in the welding program at Polaris. I mean, I've seen the growth in the student over the last 4 years. But Coach Luca told a story about how he got a text from the student because he just had the highest GPA he's ever had. He had a 3.5.
Oh, wow.
And he wanted him to know. And it was just, those are the things that you don't see in a state report card. That's like the impactful work that the trajectory of some student's life was just changed for the better because of the work that the staff did. And this is only one example of what's happening in our district every day across the board. And those are the stories that thankfully there were a lot of people in the audience that heard that. Even my husband was moved and mentioned and talked to Coach Luke about it. And, for Chuck to be moved to do that, that's a big deal, right?
Accountants have no hearts, right? Is that what you're saying?
I was like, wow.
They have one feeling.
That's a big deal. So, those are just, and I felt like I should hear, since I was coming here, I wanted to share it because those are the stories that don't get reflected in some of the things that are really used in our state to talk about what schools do. And, and I can say from personally, I know the student and I've seen the change in the student. So, and that's because of the staff. So, that's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
It's a great story.
I can't top that, but also positive. I appreciate the scholarship note that just came out from Leo and I think the district and from whatever else. And it was very, 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 very clear and
Okay, good,
openly
yeah.
communicated that the scholarships are not just for college-bound students, that they are. I know that was something we talked about a lot last year. So that was well done.
Good. Yeah, we improve, right? Last year it was it was a bit ambiguous, right? We had to have a do-over.
Well, and also the application process.
That too, that was
makes
another
it
one that
pretty,
they made. That's all the high school and Leo and the counselors.
Yeah.
And so, Mrs. Sandy Smith, when I went to the breakfast, the scholarship breakfast, she did ask me, if the board was going to have any changes or revisions to their criteria. Since last year, we sort of had discussions about how we were going to do that. And I said I would check with the board. So they would need to know that by March. But perhaps if we do want to refine our criteria differently or change it in a way, we would need to get that to them before March 1st. So we have some time to do that, but something to think about. All right. Anything else? Alrighty then, thank you. We're going to go into executive session at 8:37. Dr. Lloyd, who would you like? Who's?
Brian.
Mr. Perez, yes, please.
I think Brian Kelly, you go home. You've had a long week. Yeah.
All right, 8:37. You can call the roll, please.
We have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
You didn't want a motion, your last one ever?
I'll do that in executive session.
Oh, okay.
I'll bang the gavel and everything. My water bottle, something, I'll bang it.
Right.
Bang it.
Dr. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And Mrs. Newman?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ravens. Happy holidays.
See you. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Ew, I get a second.
Jody, are you good if I pass them?
Family, thank you.
Yeah.